Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Journey Forward with Jory Rose. I am here with Jane Hogan, and I am so looking forward to this conversation. She and I were just chit-chatting before hitting record saying, oh, there's so much I want to learn and know. So I'm excited that you're here, Jane. Thank you for spending part of your day with me today. Please introduce yourself and let people know what's the magic you're bringing to the world these days. What's lighting you up? And also, how did you get to where you are?
Well, goodness, it's a long story. Well, I'll try to make it short. So I call myself the wellness engineer now. So let's start there. And because it's a kind of weird combination, right? Wellness and engineer. We're not normally known for that as engineers. So I worked as a civil engineer for 30 years. And in 2015, I had a really stressful year. 2016, like about a year after this stress started, I started developing joint pain, like really bad. And then it got so bad that I was nearly disabled.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was hard and fast is all I can say. I didn't have a diagnosis then, didn't really know what it was, but I was Googling like we always do, and it was sounding a lot like rheumatoid arthritis. It later was diagnosed as rheumatoid arthritis. But before I knew that, all I knew was that I was in pain. And even when I started like learning a little bit about rheumatoid arthritis, if that's what it wasn't sounding very good. The future seemed a little bit bleak.
Yeah.
If you look up rheumatoid arthritis, you will see it's not a pretty picture. There is no cure. That's what you're told. There is no cure. The only solution that's being offered is medications that come with really bad side effects, cancer, things like that. So
those are those terrible commercials you see of you can solve this one problem to get like 10 other bigger problems.
yeah, they speed read through all the all of those horrible side effects. So, I kind of came from a family that liked to kind of go natural if possible. I mean, not that my father had a lot of health issues, and of course he, did what he had to do, but he also would try to use diet and exercise. So I knew that there was kind of something to that, although I didn't know how to apply that to what I was going through. But yet, I kind of, at my worst rock bottom moment, I had like an inner knowing, a download, a voice. I don't know what you want to call it, but I had this thought: if this is the way my life is going to be, I'm ready to be done. I mean, I can't really say I was suicidal, but I just had that thought of, there's nothing to look forward to. There's no, I'm letting everybody down, and including myself. But in the next moment, I had this thought that was, you're going to figure this out, and then you're going to help other people. So here I am.
It's one of those messages really of like turning your pain into your purpose, right? I mean, it's
exactly.
And it's so much, and I say this all the time, and it's part of the reason I love having the podcast is because connecting with heart-centered entrepreneurs, which is what we are, of having the journey of something happened in my life that I overcame. And now I know that it's possible to overcome it. And now I'm driven and inspired and excited to share that with others, because if I can do it, someone else can do it. Like, I am unique, but I'm not all that special, right? Like, I'm just human like you are. And if I can get through this, then I can help others. And I love that. This is literally why I have the podcast and why it's Journey Forward, because we all have that ability to move forward, and we just need guides. So thank you for being one of those guides. So what is it that you learned, and how did you heal yourself?
So like right after that moment, I was still in a lot of pain, of course, and not sleeping and all that. But I'm really, really blessed. And this, I would say, changed everything. I have a family doctor, conventional doctor. She's retired now, but she's absolutely lovely. And she said, well, we'll make an appointment with a rheumatologist. In the meantime, because in Newfoundland it takes about 6 months or 6 months for me to see the rheumatologist that I wanted to see. She said, in the meantime, sometimes foods can cause joint pain. I was like, no. I mean, it seems kind of well known now. Maybe it just seems well known to me because that's the space I'm in. But that was the first I had ever heard of that back then. So she said gluten, dairy, sugar were kind of common inflammatory foods. And I was like, okay, I'll just cut them out. Like, I was so desperate, I just cut them cold turkey. And within 5 days, I had a noticeable reduction in pain. Like,
wow.
It was noticeable. I understand now why, because a lot of my pain was coming from gut problems. The cells turn over every 3 to 5 days. So if you can just do something to kind of stop the flame and the inferno in the gut that's causing the immune system to trigger, then you do see a difference very quickly. Wow. So I started with that, and I was like, it changed everything. Then I was in a position of empowerment instead of being a victim, because that's all I was thinking before is, why is this happening to me? It's not fair. I was healthy. I ate healthy. I was athletic. I did all the right things. Why is this happening to me? I mean, I know now it's so much stress. We have no idea how much stress impacts our physical body. It's everything, really. And it wasn't, I knew that I'd just been through this year of stress. So my mother had died suddenly, and I had to deal with the whole, I missed her incredibly. She was my best friend. Plus I had to deal with the whole house. And I can hardly talk about her now, so I won't go down that road. Just go down the practicalities. But I had to deal with the house and all the contents. My parents were collectors. There was just so much. And I had siblings. You can imagine there's, stuff going on. So it was a very tough year. And so I knew that this had to be connected to that stress. But I thought, okay, all that's done now. Like, I'm okay. Things are, and I would get better. Like, I would plateau. And then I realized there was more going on. Like, okay, there's something more. And so I just kept on. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, right? Peeling back. And I came to realize that really the way I thought about myself my whole life, I was a people pleaser. I was a perfectionist. Look, daughter of an engineer becomes an engineer, right?
Yeah.
And so I was so, had to be the best mother. I was president of the swim club. I was the meet manager. ran the chess club at the school while working full time. I was doing it all my whole life. And so really what I came to realize was all of that had been carried through too. So
can I ask a question on that? Because for people who are listening, this is a really familiar story, I think, for many, especially women, right? Where we have the narrative, the belief system of, to be a good mom means we've got to do all the things all the time, despite the impact it may be having on our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health, right? That martyrdom.
Yeah.
For you to have the awareness and start to connect the dots of, it wasn't just the stress and the grief you had gone through from that stressful year, but as you peeled back those layers, as you said, was that something you had done through therapy? Was that through meditation, journaling? How did you begin to connect the dots? I think a lot of people conceptually want to be able to connect their own dots, and everyone's going to have a different method for doing so. I'm just curious, what was your method for understanding how all of that was interrelated and how it also might have been showing up in your body?
Excellent question, Jory. So as I was trying all these different things, I discovered functional medicine, which is an approach to health and healing that looks at root causes as opposed to band-aid solutions on and covering up symptoms. And I knew I was at that point like 52 years old, and I'm like, I'm not going back to school to be a naturopath, but I really felt like, I had this calling, right? But I learned about health coaching, and I thought I could do this and I could learn a little bit more about all of this for myself, really, as much as anything. So every month, I ended up doing the functional medicine certified health coaching program. through the Institute for Functional Medicine. It's ran by them. It's a program kind of developed to go alongside their doctor medical program. And because it's a team of people that helps people get well. So the health coach is part of that team. I didn't really know if I was going to be a health coach then. I just wanted to learn. But every month in this 12-month program, there was a mind-body component. And I was just fascinated. And I'd always been fascinated with mind body. They also talked about mind body spirit. I'd always had that component too. I did Reiki, a level 2 Reiki practitioner. Well, I'm not a practitioner. I did the training years and years ago. I'd done Tai Chi, I'd done meditation, I'd done yoga. So I kind of
had your toe in the water in some of that awareness, which, by the way, for a civil engineer,
I know.
I really applaud. I was married to a civil engineer for many years, and they often don't have their mind wired in such a way that allows for a more holistic approach to life that isn't so linear and black and white. So, but yeah, having your toe already in the water of some of those awarenesses or practices probably made it easier for you to expand that. Am I right?
Yes. But I totally had it compartmentalized. Like I was approaching my healing like, I'm going to fight this. I've got this. And I was problem solving and drawing charts and graphs. And, I was doing all that engineering side. And then like, I also had this other side where I had to kind of let go of that logical, like a surrender had to happen. So I started learning about some of those practices. I'd always been really fascinated with hypnosis, the power of the mind, how we can have a physiological reaction under hypnosis. Just kind of blew my mind. Like your skin can bubble if you're told that, there's something hot burning your skin. Like,
wow.
I know, it's just wild, right? So, and I'd always been kind of interested in the placebo effect and how people get well, even though they're taking a sugar pill. So there was all of that. So that was kind of fascinating. And so I really, Jory, I started reading a lot. I studied this way harder than I studied my engineering career.
You had more vested interest.
Yeah, I read so many books. I discovered the work of Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, some of these other people. The whole idea about creating your future, and that we create our body from our thoughts, feelings, vibrations, energy. I really early on though, I'd always been into personal development too. And so and losing my mom, I think she had always been my biggest fan. And so when she was gone, I was like, what? So I was like, I have to be my own. So like literally I would look in the mirror.
I just got chills when you said that, Jane. It's so love. It's such a practice of self-love.
It was. And so that it was radical self-love. I had to look in the mirror. I literally did this. And I spoke to myself the way my mother would speak to me. And so I started doing that. Like every day you're doing so much, you're getting stronger every day. And I would be talking like her, like you. Yeah. And then it started switching. I'm an example of what's possible. Every day in every way, I'm supporting my health. And I would visualize myself doing things that I knew I wanted to do. So I would visualize like sailing. Like I didn't have any grip strength in my hands. I would visualize that I was on a sailing boat hoisting up the sails, right? You got to have a lot of grip strength and arm strength for that. So I would visualize that and feel the wind blowing in my hair and salt spray on my face. And I would imagine like climbing. I love hiking. So climbing a mountain and being at the top of the mountain and like, yes, made it. And I would imagine playing with grandchildren. I still don't have grandchildren, but I would imagine I was throwing them up in the air and catching them. And so this was the kind of stuff that every day I realized, I mean, I didn't really know about neuroplasticity and programming and all that stuff then, but that's exactly what I was doing. I was programming my brain with pictures. And visualizations, mind movies of what I would want my future to be. Not only that, I felt it. And I think
that's such a key part.
It is.
And that's something that, and I just want to harness that for a second. And I want to hear more what you have to say, but I've been doing a lot of the same work around this and really understand the law of attraction, but I also hold the space for law of attraction as a woo-woo practice, but I also get the neuroscience of why it works. So I can really
Yeah.
cultivate the belief system around it, because I can hold space for both of those things. And it's not just some woo-woo thing, right? But what people don't often take to heart is not just the visualization, but let me embody as if I'm experiencing that experience. And
it's absolutely necessary.
yes. And that's the part people I don't think get, because it feels like, well, what does it mean to embody something? Like I can see a picture in my head. I can look at a picture, that I took a photograph or a magazine, or like, it's easy to visualize something. But if you've never felt that sense of alignment or abundance or pure love, it might be hard to feel what that would be. So it's like being as if, right? Living as if.
As if. Yeah, as if. Yeah, and I like to say, you talked about woo-woo, and it does seem woo-woo, but I like to say it's not woo-woo, it's physics.
It is.
Literally is physics, right? It takes a lot for people to believe this, but physics tells us, quantum physics tells us, everything is energy.
Yep.
And energy is just vibration. So like, even though we feel and think we're very solid, we're really just energy. We're vibrating. It's just slow enough that it appears solid. So everything is vibrating. So if we want to be a vibrational match for a healthy version of ourselves, we have to be vibrating at that frequency as much as possible. Right? So the more you can do it, the better kind of thing. Joe Dispenza talks about teach your body what it feels like to be that version of yourself, right? And so I was doing that. I didn't even know about Joe Dispenza then, but that's just what I was doing. I'd read like Tony Robbins over the years, and I knew about the power, and Jack Canfield, some of that stuff. So I just started doing that stuff, and lo and behold, it was the stuff that is taught by people like Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton. Our cells are constantly responding. So a lot of people think we were taught a story that we are a victim of our genes, and really the whole Human Genome Project showed that our genes are only responsible for like less than 2% of permanent coding.
Wow.
I know, it's mind blowing. People can even change your eye color. Like it's wild, but that I think that takes a lot of practice. But anyway, but really, like more than 98% of our genes they're on dimmer switches, so they can be dimming up or dimming down, and what's controlling that is actually the information that's being sent down from the surface of the cells. So this is all the study of epigenetics, the branch of science, which means above genetics. So the surface of the cell has like little antenna that's picking up what's this environment like, right? They're picking up on the vibes, the vibrations, and then they're sending the signals down to the DNA about like how to reproduce and so on, and how to respond. And they're saying it's all's good out here, or no, it's not safe. This seems like we're running for our lives. So the cells will literally create chemicals of stress response in our body. And so then when we're in that state, so it creates a state of our nervous system that we're, like everyone knows about the fight or flight state. But when we're in that state, which is what most people are in most of the time. I've been in most of my life, to be honest.
Most of us are, yes.
Yeah. When we're in that state, the digestive system doesn't work well, right? So then we start to not digest food very well, and then we can get leaky gut, intestinal permeability. Right. Then the immune system's right on the other side of that, and then it starts a response, and then a whole cascade of things. Most chronic conditions start that way.
Yeah.
So the digestive system doesn't work well. The endocrine system doesn't work well. The musculoskeletal system doesn't work well. Coming back to the endocrine system, if that's not working well, then we're not getting the neurotransmitters and the hormones and all these things that should be going well. So then we start to not sleep very well. And we probably start, like if the people are at reproductive ages, or even if you're, perimenopausal, like I was when all this started, you start getting symptoms of that, which it's funny, in our society, it's considered normal. All of these things are considered normal. Like, oh, it's normal to get arthritis when you get old. Oh, it's normal to have the hot flashes. It's
Right.
normal. Yeah, most people, don't digest very well, or, all of these are considered normal, but they're not really normal. They're common. So,
I
so the
love that
big,
distinction. That doesn't
yeah,
have to
it's
be the
huge.
case, is what you're saying, is it doesn't have to be the case.
No,
Because part of it, if we go back to, we are residing on a frequency or a vibration that's going to be a match to what we're receiving. If you are under the belief that this is normal, you're putting out the vibration or frequency. All right, bring it on. I'm ready. I'm of age. I'm of a certain,
yeah,
time in my life where this should
beliefs.
be normal. So then you're like,
Yeah.
you're just sitting back and saying, okay, come match me where I am.
Exactly. And really, the subconscious mind is running the body. Like, we don't have to think about it. It's doing all the stuff, but it's getting information from, like, our vibrations. It's getting information from our conscious mind. It's got the programs in there that have been believed, like the thoughts, the beliefs that we didn't even put in our minds, right? They were put in by who knows, way back when, right?
Well, and you mentioned one thing about the epigenetics, and I think a fascinating piece in that too is what we get transmitted intergenerationally. So even if it's not even in our conscious mind or experience, it's in our DNA of how the DNA has been expressed
Yes.
transgenerationally. So transgenerational trauma plays
It's
a
a real
part.
thing.
It's a real thing. It's fascinating.
It is. It is. And then I also learned about trauma, and I didn't like there's there's uppercase T trauma, right? And then there's lowercase T trauma, as a lot of people refer to it. I didn't have the uppercase T trauma. It wasn't. It was fine, but I did have some lowercase T trauma, and I totally love my brother, but I had an older brother that teased me a lot for whatever reasons he had when we were really little, and he was just being a kid, really. But I stuttered. It was so much that I stuttered. So do you, like, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that a little child who starts stuttering does not feel safe in the world, doesn't feel safe expressing herself in the world. Right. And so I always had this feeling of I wasn't important, what I said didn't matter. Like, but that was programming that someone else put in my mind. It wasn't even mine, right? But I carried it subconsciously. So there's subconscious unraveling sometimes to be done as well.
Yeah.
And that
we also know, and we also know that with the lowercase t trauma, even if we have enough of the small ones, it registers in the brain the same way a capital T trauma does.
Yeah.
The brain doesn't know the difference between that accumulation of things. And so we can easily let it go of all these little experiences that didn't matter. But wait, we have enough little experiences that we've been dismissing as important to our psychosocial biodevelopment.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, and there actually is impact there.
Yes. And the little experience, depending on your age and where you are and what you took it to mean, could have been a huge experience, right? In your little mind. So when we're little, we sometimes just make things mean things that they don't really mean. And so that can lead to, in our mind, creating behavioral adaptations to protect ourselves, because our brain is just trying to protect us, right? So they're just behavioral adaptations. And so even like, I look at the pain now as being something that it was kind of like a bucket getting filled and filled and filled and filled and filled. And finally, my body was saying, pay attention. We're going to get your attention. And so I see it now as such a gift, because it woke me up, and it helped me become a totally different version of myself than I was before. And now capable of so much more, and able to express so much more, and able to participate in life so much more, and love myself more. Like, honestly, it really comes down to loving yourself. It sounds really sort of corny and, but it's not.
It's not. Well, because at the end of the day, we all have wounds. I don't think there's a human on this planet who doesn't have wounds of feeling that someone let us down emotionally, whether it was a parent, a partner, right? Where we just didn't feel, to some extent, was I worthy enough to receive that?
Yeah.
And we over personalize what someone else was unable to do because of their own traumas. We internalize it as our lack of worthiness. So self-love is the antidote to that, no matter what the situation.
Yes.
Self-love is always going to be the antidote.
It is. It is. And it's such a healing vibration, that vibration. And I love doing these little practices, and maybe we could do it here if you want.
Yeah,
but
please.
like generating your own loving presence within you. Because I lead people to do this all the time, and it's like, oh, they're like, oh, that felt so good. I'm like, but you did it. You didn't need anyone else to do it. You did it. You created this loving feeling within yourself. And that is the most healing vibration of all. Like if you could just keep yourself in that state, your body would respond. I mean, our bodies are brilliant and beautiful, and will continue to try to heal until the day we die, constantly trying to heal. And so if we can support it, like we can support it, actually.
Right.
We can support it. And it's when we have pain or illness or even emotional pain, all of this is really a calling, a desperate calling for help. And so I like to think of, me, like this bigger version of me is here to help this body and this mind that I've been given as tools to experience this time on earth. It's up to me to steward it, be the steward of those, right? And it's a completely different way of looking at life.
It is. And something you just said, and I wrote it down, just our body will always try to continue to heal. And we just get in our own damn way. Mm-hmm. I once was told an analogy around this of, if you get a cut on your skin, the skin is the skin is designed to heal itself. But we often like pick at a scab and then it's like, why is it not healing?
Yeah.
When if we were just to let it be, and, in addition, really give a lot of active practices towards how to facilitate that healing. But we so often get in our own way, and we're talking vibrationally. So even the thoughts of, why aren't I healing fast enough? What's wrong with me? Why did this even happen to begin with? Anytime we're asking that why is a resistance to accepting what is. And as long as we're in resistance, we're preventing the healing.
Exactly. And it's really tough for people. So I help people with chronic pain. It's hard. I understand. I was there to be in pain and to try to think yourself like out of it, like to not think about it when you're in pain, because it's kind of all you can think about. But like, really, you have to do that. You have to do it. It's the only way out.
Do you have any of your rheumatoid arthritis symptoms anymore?
No, I don't. I've got no pain. I've never taken any meds. I've never, even since this first happened, I have not taken, since I first found out that even the NSAIDs, Advil and all those things, they break down the gut lining. So ever since I found that out, I have not taken one at all. I just don't take anything for pain. What I do find is that if I get stressed, if I start to not look after myself, honor my body, continue to shower myself with love, then I may start to get some pain places. Like last year, I hosted an online summit. It was busy. It was a lot of work. I did a lot of interviews, but I found that I did start to get a little bit of pain, and it's like, okay, but I don't panic about it. I used to panic about it, and now I just go, been there, fix this. I feel like
and the panic was fueling the fire to it, right?
Exactly.
Because it was adding to the stress and the inflammation. So by worrying about it, you were activating the very thing you were preventing or wanting to prevent from happening.
Exactly. So that the whole thing on the neuroscience is it creates a pain fear cycle in the brain, and it keeps like strengthening those pathways of fear, pain, fear, more pain, more fear. And it just keeps like creating the grooves, really, like it's just strengthening those neurons in our brain.
Yes.
And so we have to get out of it. And, even just like being an observer of the pain instead of like, because I used to panic. Even as I was getting better, I would panic because I'm like, I'm in a race against time before this rheumatoid arthritis deforms my joints, then I have permanent damage. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I used to hear. Like, yeah, you should go on the medications because if you don't, you'll get permanent damage. I heard that all the time. And so that was kind of feeding fear, right? I just stopped that. I just had to stop that. I'm going to be fine. It's okay.
But it takes the awareness to know you're having the thought.
Huge awareness.
I mean, that at the root of everything I teach is awareness.
Yeah.
Because I always say you can't change what you're not aware of. So, and even to be able to get to that level of awareness, because we're so conditioned to not be aware, to stay on that autopilot. So to be able to practice greater awareness requires, in my mind, slowing down. That's why I
Yes.
think meditation is the root of all things, to be able to even know what it feels like to be the observer
Yeah.
of what's arising. If we're always, full speed ahead, we're too busy out of fear to slow
Yes.
down. But it's that awareness of, oh, look at that. I'm holding on to those thoughts again. Oh, look at that. I'm believing those thoughts that I keep hearing. Is that in alignment with where I want to be? No. Okay, but now how do I do that? Right?
Yes.
It's the
Yeah.
constant
It's
practice.
awareness of the thought. So that's kind of a beginning part, is like, what am I, oh, I'm noticing that I'm thinking. So when you are noticing what you're thinking, then you are like being that observer. But it's also one thing I teach now is also not just noticing your thoughts, but noticing how you feel out in your body, because our body speaks first.
Yes.
And so I had no idea that I was going through almost my whole life clenching in my solar plexus area.
Yep.
Even now, like as we're talking now, like, oh yeah, there I am again. Okay, let it loosen. Right?
Yes.
So, or even pain, like that's really our body talking to us. And so, like, paying attention, when we get pain, it's like you can't really ignore it. But there's so many little subtle clues. If I had any idea, for years I had like shoulder pain and tight neck and going to the chiropractor. I mean, now I realize, you think about even the language that we use, right? Oh, what a pain in the neck, right? Well, oh, I got the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
So those kinds of words that you use can give an indication of like the physical parts of your body that are connected to that emotional thing you're thinking, even if you're not aware that you're thinking of it.
Yes. I just did a 10-day challenge in my online community on shifting your lens and all these different ways you can shift the way you respond and see things. And one of them was the language we use, because
Mm.
people don't recognize the impact and power our language has on our experience, on our expectations, on our attachments, on our relationships. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jane, I think I might have to have you come back on again, because there's so much more, honestly, because there's so much more that I would love to really ask about that we don't have a lot of time for, because I think there does feel to be a more societal trend towards more of this naturopath, functional medicine exposure and mentality of healing. And there's so much there that I think people aren't aware of the ability for them to harness their own health.
Oh, well, no, we haven't been told. We haven't been told, but it's everything. In fact, when it comes down to it, you're the only one that can do it.
Yeah. So you mentioned a moment ago, maybe we can end with this, of a self-love practice. So maybe
Yeah.
for those who are listening, and for me as well, would you be open to guiding just a short little practice of what you would normally do with someone who could
Just like
support that?
about 3 minutes. Well, or does that
Perfect.
sound right?
That's wonderful.
Okay, so this, what I'm going to lead you through is like a heart focused breathing practice that has been really well studied. Like, I still love all the science, and this has been so well studied to help you on so many levels, including do better at tests, better at relationships, putting yourself into that parasympathetic rest and digest state, clearer thinking, just so many great benefits, higher heart rate variability. So just close your eyes for a moment and focus on your breathing. And I'd like for you to imagine that as you inhale, you're inhaling into your heart space, filling it up, and then releasing on the exhale. Inhale again into the heart, letting it fill up with that beautiful breath of life, and exhale. Inhale again, filling up the heart and all around that heart space. And exhale. And then continuing to breathe in and out of the heart. I'd love for you to imagine now that you are experiencing deep love or joy. So maybe you might want to go back to a person or a place or an event, or maybe a pet, a time, sometime, or maybe you can just make it up, but you're feeling deep, deep love, deep joy. Just picture this in your mind now. And notice what you see around you. Look around. What colors do you see? What people are there, or what's around you? Could be trees. Maybe you're in a room indoors. What's around you? Notice if you hear anything. Maybe you smell something or taste something. Maybe not. But you're feeling this deep, deep love and joy. And now I'd like for you to switch from thinking about that to feeling it. So feel that deep love and joy. Perhaps you feel it in your heart, but maybe you feel it somewhere else, and that's okay. But breathe into it now and make it even bigger. As you inhale, make it bigger. Let it completely fill up your body now. And with the next breath, imagine that it's even bigger than your body. And on the next breath, it can even fill up the room that you're in. It feels so good, this loving feeling. And now, pull it all back to you. As you inhale, pull all this love back into your heart. And know that whenever you want it, it's right there in your heart. You can breathe and make it as big as you want, but you can always pull it right back into your heart. So let's just take another breath here now, another inhale and an exhale. And slowly and gently open your eyes. How do you feel, Jory?
Oh, Jane, that was exactly what I needed right now. Oh, I feel so good. It was so clear what I was visualizing, and was able to really just breathe it in and embody it. And I hope that everyone who listened got the same gift of that momentary pause in their day to just embrace what they know feels good, because that's at the root of it. We don't want to not feel good. We want to feel good.
And you can create that. You just created that feeling, right? You can create it, come back to it. And what you want to do is teach your body what it feels like so you can memorize it, come back there whenever you want. It's a beautiful tool.
Jane, I just adore you. I just feel like I want to sit and have a cup of tea with you all day long. So how can people find you if they want to learn more, work with you?
They can find me. My website is thewellnessengineer.com. And I'm on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and different places. I think if you search The Wellness Engineer or Jane Hogan Health, either one of those, you should find me. I have a podcast, Wellness by Design, and this is my mission now, to share this.
I love it.
Well, I'd love to see them. And if they want to go to my website, there's a free gift and audio download they can get right from the main page there. And that, I think that heart focused breathing is right there, so they'll be able to have that to listen to. Yeah,
Jane, you are an absolute gift. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your journey. And I really appreciate what I received from you today. So thank you so much. And I hope everyone who's listening really got what they needed to hear out of this today, because there are no accidents of the timing in which we get our messages. So thank you so much, everyone. Take care and be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.